Welcome in, and I'm going to answer some questions that came from the comment section of my Instagram, and also this is flowing from a ton of TikTok stuff as well. So I'm Sassy Red, I'm the sex educator you never had, and I don't make it awkward for you to understand any of the anatomy that we're going to go over or any of the questions that you ever have. I'm also really about conscious loving and how we can bring yourself into more of the room and also your partner more of into the room so that you can have those 3 to 4 hour orgasms with each other. So let's dive in. This came from a question of you will find what you're looking for when you dive into more of the sensation of pleasure rather than chasing orgasms. Chasing orgasms is kind of like going to Disneyland. It gets kind of boring after a while because you've gone to Disneyland so many times. But when you investigate or you invite yourself with a curiosity of what could be the possibility of pleasure and where you are sensing it and how you are sensing it, at what direction. So I invite you to unpack some of these questions with me as I ask you to understand that every man can separate ejaculation from orgasm. And you can be more clear and have more strength from doing this. And you can have more self-confidence. Women, vaginal owners, you can self-actualize and become more a part of your divine feminine. You can have cervical, clitoral, G-spot, nipple orgasms, and you can squirt, and every single person can learn how to. I want to help you do that. This is what I do. So let's answer some questions. How does someone actually, the first question that was actually on there, how does someone actually come from their vagina and their clit and their cervical orgasm? How do you find your nipples and how do you squirt? When we bring attention to something, more attention shows up and things start to happen. When we start to touch things, we get more curious and then more curious and more curious and more curious. So if you haven't been able to do these things, have the invitation to invite your partner to go slower with you. Here's a statement that I love. Would you be willing to go a little bit slower with me and be patient? Can you take your time and really, really investigate my pussy and how wet she can become with you so that you can unfold with me a little bit more and so that I can squirt all over you? How does that sound? Now, when you try doing these things, the word surrender starts to also come into play. And it's not just as easy as like, letting go, but it's also an act of how do you practice surrender when you're outside of the bedroom? When there's something going on in traffic, how do you not just let it go, but I'm just gonna be here. This is what's going on. If something else is going on in life, how can you pause and let that soften? So that when these are training wheels or tools so that you can actually, when you're in the moment of your bedroom, you're like, I've already done this. I already have the training wheels for this. I can ride this bike. Nipply. I feel like they're the windows to an orgasm, especially the windows to my vagina, because they're a little higher. It's like, woo, what kind of radar system is going on? So I invite you to really just touch your own breasts and really just touch them. You can hold them through the day. You can put them in between your fingers and just let it be there. You can make any kind of sensation available to you that you want to experience. And each day that you do this, you get more sensation and more sensation. So this is how you create and let this stuff happen, is by bringing attention to it and letting the sensation build and build and build. That's one question. Medication and bipolar are different for doing all of this work. Totally. You can also ask your doctor to cut some of your prescriptions in half and then see if that would be a good idea for you. You can also slow down even more and try to slow down with sensation and what you are sensing. Have a conversation with your partner and be like, ooh, I sense this and this is what's going on. The person that's on the other end of the pelvis gets to go, oh, what does that sensation tell you? Oh, I really like this. Oh, I really like that. So on and so forth. So this is an invitation for you to not only reach up to your doctor and ask another question, but also to reach up to your partner and be like, hey, can we do this sensation language stuff so I can talk about the sensation that I'm sensing so that sensation can be more obvious to me as a person so that I can experience more as a person. Sounds like a lot, it is a lot, and if you want to step up to this conscious loving and you want to sense these things into more pleasure, then please do this kind of work. Starting the journey of feeling more inside the vaginal canal. So inside the vaginal canal itself is going from superficial pelvic floor to deep pelvic floor. So sometimes I like to take my finger on the outside of the vagina and go, oh, that's really interesting. And then once my finger is inside about like halfway, I'm like, ooh, I can really push down, I can really push up. But going down is more of a safety bit. You want to stay away from the bladder, okay? So if this is going on, you're inside and you're taking your finger down this way. So if technically you're inside, you're pushing down this way. Okay? Or you want to stay away from the bladder, away from the urethra, safety-wise, anatomy-wise. Just stay away from it. Okay, what other piece? When you're also feeling into the vaginal canal, you have availability of going into the tail land. Tail is right here, and the vagina is here. So when you're playing with yourself and pressing down, you can feel the bones here. You can feel the tail if you want to. They feel a little different. This is something that you can just try to experience. It's just something that you can play with. How do you play with it? You investigate with sensation. Do I like it more over here? Do I like it more over here? And none of this is about an orgasm. Sensation and pleasure are different than an orgasm. Whoever taught us that it was only about an orgasm was so completely uneducated about how muscle groups work and how our brains work. But anyway, I digress with that. Let's move on, because according to Taoism and Buddhism, our sexual spirituality is a catapult, a diving board to our spirituality of self-understanding and self-confidence and our aura, if you want to think of it that way. I'm trying to think of like less fluffy words if you want to think of it that way. But I'm like, how do I be not myself, but at the same time, how do I be myself? Okay. Healthy masturbation for men and ejaculation for men, and seeding. When men hold on to their seed and they don't ejaculate very much, I almost want to have this conversation with the other question, which is around, where is it? It's so good. How do you kick your porn addiction, and does ED just go away after that? So I'm going to combine these two questions together. Healthy masturbation for men and seeding, and kicking your porn addiction and ED, does it just go away? Nothing ever just goes away. Let me just say that. Nothing ever just goes away. Something eventually gets better over time. Also, it is a process to kick any addiction, including an addiction to ice cream or bread or coffee. So kind of base that question upon related to food. How long does it take you to stop getting butter out of your system, or whatever? Some of us are allergic to a couple of things. How do we get it out of our systems? So we have to have a choice of wanting to get rid of something, an addiction. And then ED, because of unloading, when you unload too much of your seed, you are losing consciousness of the weight of your space, of your pelvic floor. And when there's weight, then there is levitivity of the brain. When there's levitivity of the brain, there is more confidence, you have more testosterone, and you have more balance of any hormone that's there, because you need at least over 300 to 400 balance of your testosterone. Most men tested with their testosterone are in the 250 level, which is pretty interestingly low. So if we want to keep that as something, as a high point, getting rid of our seed, we can get to the edge and just enjoy pleasure. We don't have to have fireworks. Okay? When we have fireworks, we're getting rid of that seed and it's lightening the load. Some people are like, yeah, lighten the load. However, in this conversation, we're thinking about weight for levitivity. And this is exactly what creates tantric sex, is levitivity, because of the weight that you're holding, because you can be in two places, which creates a spiritual burst or levitivity in your own aura, if you want to think of it that way. How do you get bigger? Okay. ED doesn't just go away. You also have to think about the produce section and building the nutrient dense stuff that your sperm needs. We can talk about that in another video. And actually that is always to the person, so you can always think about booking a session with that as well. Pillows, what to do with them, and what about a wedge? So that pillow video that blew up to like 20 million views, which was crazy. You know, if they don't prop you with a pillow for masturbation, don't keep them. So here we go. You're gonna take 2 pillows like such, place the person's pelvis towards you. Their legs are gonna go on your shoulders. Then your hand can go underneath their pelvis and the other hand is playing with cup, curtain, and weight. Okay? Also, if you need to, if their legs don't want to go on the shoulders, they can think about pressing into the chest. You can also get stools on the side for the legs to sit on, because the legs can get a little bit wonky staying open that long. So giving them something to rest on is nice for the person that is receiving this. And it's also nice for the person that's giving, because it's a little bit of weight and you can move your pelvis. So here's this. I want you to move your pelvis with this, of receiving the weight of their legs. Instead of going like this and receiving this and doing this, your pelvis is gonna tip forward so you can receive more weight here and it's not constricting or hurting your back, okay? So you can also put a wedge here. Those are just a different kind of purchase. They're also a little bit harder so that the butt doesn't squish down as much and the butt can stay lifted. Also, with that, you can play with placing the pelvis here and then having your fun this way as well. I did see in a comment that like, oh, if he puts you on a wedge, then he's got a small dick. Honey, he just put you on something that works for him and it makes you feel good. Why does it matter? Because what is the saying that like, oh, it doesn't matter his size as long as he knows how to work it? He just put pillows up to work it because he knows how to work what he's got. So leave him the hell alone and let him have a small whatever, a small penis. If he knows how to work it, let him work it. Some people don't know how to do a good blowjob, but they have a perfectly good sized mouth as the same bitch next to him. Figure it out. Don't be mean. There's nothing wrong with a small dick. Jesus. So even when it comes to other stuff, quit picking on men. Can you see I don't like that? That's me being sassy. Okay. Sexual assault survivor here. What else can I do besides cupping to not tense up during sex? When a pelvis has been traumatized, our pelvis works like this. It goes down and it goes up. It looks like a hammock, like this. This has to expand and contract. Expand and contract. Inhale, exhale. And then the superficial pelvic floor to that moves this way and this way. So one floor is moving forward, back. The other floor is moving up, down. This is a muscular thing that has to happen. So taking a ball like this is a workout ball that you can use. Put it underneath your pelvis, sit on it, and breathe. Notice how the first floor goes back and forth. Don't make it do it. Sense how it does it. There's a big difference between making something happen and it happening on its own. It happening on its own is what we're looking for. If you feel like you keep living in the land of making it happen, then I wonder what other things you're controlling in your life, and you don't have to do that anymore, okay? So just keep sticking with this of noticing how to do this, because once the muscle group knows how to expand and contract and extend and flex like it's supposed to, there is more availability of the muscles going down and doing what they're supposed to. Now, conversation-wise is another thing. We can't always fix our bedroom problems in the bedroom. We have to fix those bedroom problems outside of the bedroom. What gets us comfortable inside of the bedroom is having good conversations with people. Like, oh, I really feel safe in this conversation. You know, I've had a conversation with this person 5 or 6 times now. I really feel like I can take off my clothes with this person. So if this is really sweet, then the bedroom area is going to be really easy and really nice. So sometimes if something's not going on in the bedroom, it's sure as shit not also happening in over here with your conversation land. So you have to de-thread everything that's like every conversation that was misunderstood, or an action wasn't taken, or somebody felt like it wasn't complete or completely seen, heard, felt. Those threads of issues definitely do show up in our bedroom. And just because our body shows up doesn't mean it actually is acting the way it's supposed to. It will show up in vaginal dryness. It will show up in pain. It will show up in men having ejaculation problems, coming too quickly. It will show up in ED. Our bodies tell the truth. So sometimes it's not just putting a ball underneath and also doing the muscle group stuff. Sometimes it is also the work of having conversation with our partner so that everything that we do with them can also be comfortable here, so that you can trust and open up. Because the reason why a muscle group is tight is because it doesn't feel safe. It has to come out on its own. It's kind of like the vision of a cat underneath a bed. If you pull the cat from underneath the bed, it's going to claw the whole way out. Wow! But if you let the cat come out from underneath the bed on its own, it's like, oh, now I want to play. Look what I can do. I can possibly even squirt now. That comes later when there's more trusting conversations over here. Is there such a thing of anal orgasms with and without a prostate? The nerve endings, let's start with females. You can come from your anus because the nerve endings that are in your anus are very close to the back wall of the vagina. Let me get this all set up. So if I'm just looking at how the anus and the vagina work, when erect, these two muscle groups expand. So if this muscle group expands here and this muscle group expands back, then there's going to be this rubbing sensation along the inside. The nerve endings can rub against each other, and bada bing, bada boom. Each person is different at the angle. This is why there's an A spot, a P spot, an O spot, I don't really care. What is your sensation of where you like it? That's all I care about, is an open-ended question to get you to the space of, oh, I like that one, oh. So you get to ask, a partner or yourself gets to ask, be like, can you point it a little bit more forward here, or oh, down, down, down? Because sometimes we don't really have words, but we can go, or. So use different language if you need to. It's the same language of knowing when to leave somebody's house, and you look at your partner or your friend and you're like, ooh, let's get out of here. So it's the same thing of that silent language that you can also use with each other if words are hard. And if you don't have a prostate, the nerve endings are still somewhere, and they still respond to sensation if you show up to the space to give them availability. For instance, if I put my finger here and start pushing in and then go inside and then start pointing down or different angles, you as a person is going to go, "Ooh, I like that angle. I like this angle." Pay attention to that and have fun with sensation, and sensation eventually will lead to orgasm. And if it doesn't, it might happen in 6 months to a year. You have to keep investigating, inviting yourself to the space. Can we talk about squirting for sessions for women? My fiance also moans when she has an orgasm and then she has a leg cramp, but there's no squirting. What's going on? These two questions are related. They're two separate questions, but they are very related. Squirting happens when when a vaginal owner person feels completely trusting of her partner, their partner. Squirting comes from, and it looks like this creamy white liquid. Sometimes it can be clear, but more so what I see is a cream, and more so what I hear about is a cream. So when this happens, it's because the trust conversation over here was so good that I went, "Ugh," and completely opened up like a flower and squirted in your face. So it sounds like when she's moaning and, that she has a leg that goes, "Ah!" and there's no squirting, she's there, but not quite there. So what other conversations can you unthread and be like, "Hey, this has been bugging me a little bit. Can we talk about this?" You have to learn how to refriend your partner and be a friend that is not fucking your partner. Sometimes you just have to be friends, because that's how you started was, "Oh, I kind of like this person. How do I be friends with them to get them over here where I really like them?" So really investigate this land over here so that squirting can happen. How do you really friend your partner so that squirting can happen? It's a safety thing. My partner and I haven't had sex in 5 months. What do we do? This is one of my biggest questions and biggest bookings that I get is this question. The months or years are different every time, but the answer or the solution, I like the word solution better. The solution for this is the same conversation I was having earlier. Try not to fix the bedroom problems in the bedroom. Again, what got you into the bedroom was you talking and loving how to be friends. Go on 5 dates with each other and don't plan out all 5 and what dates and what times and what you're going to do. That's not what friends usually do. And that's not how you started dating. How you started dating or how you started becoming friends with that person is doing one at a time. "Oh, I had fun. Do you want to do this?" And sometimes when you're doing something fun for about an hour and a half, about at that time comes up this point where like, "So this thing has been really bugging me and I was wondering if we can problem solutionize this and can we do that together?" So each time that you go on a friend date, this is going to happen. That you're going to problem solve something and it gets better and you're going to be friends with it. Because essentially, if you and I are friends and we have a problem, then you'd be like, "Sassy made me kind of pissed, and it's my job and your job to also come to me and have a conversation with you back that something pissed you off. And it's my job as a person to be like, "Oh, I didn't know that pissed you off. Like, is there another way that we can find a solution so that I don't piss you off again? Like, I don't want to do that as a friend. Like, I'm so sorry." "Sure, no problem. I think that if you said it this way, if we can do it this way, and this really helps me. Is there anything else that you would add to that to make this better for us?" "Absolutely." "Okay, so you're saying that this helps and you don't like this and we can do this together?" "Yeah, okay, let's do that." So it's their idea, your idea, and our idea together, which then makes this get better. Try this 5 times with each other. And by the end of this, you should be friends and the bedroom should get better. Anything else? No. Have a great time. I'll see you on another one. I'm Sassy Red, and have some good slurping time. Have a good juicy weekend. A juicy week.